Hey guys, I'm Retro Cactar, and welcome to the very last episode in this commentary playthrough of Final Fantasy IV. I pretty much showed you guys everything that I wanted to go through in the game, so this last episode is just going to be me talking about my history with the game, because there have been many re-releases of the game throughout the years. So I'm going to be talking a bit about that. I'm going to be talking about my most recent experience playing through the game while recording it, what I liked, what I didn't like, and then finally I'll just be talking about what will be coming up next, what you guys can expect on the channel. So Final Fantasy IV was the first, or one of the first RPGs that I ever played back when it was released on the SNES under the localization title Final Fantasy II on the Super Nintendo. So I wouldn't say it's my favorite Final Fantasy even now, but it was the game I think that really kind of introduced me to RPGs and got me used to the typical flow of an RPG, exploring an overworld map, going to towns and upgrading your equipment and buying items, talking to NPCs, and then of course battling your way through monsters, through dungeons, facing bosses, learning new abilities, all that sort of thing. So I really enjoyed it. There have been several versions, as I said, of this game throughout the years. Besides the SNES version, there is a PlayStation version of the game which was released as part of Final Fantasy Chronicles alongside Chrono Trigger. So if you have a PlayStation or a PlayStation emulator, you could pick it up that way. It was also released on the PSP as part of Final Fantasy IV, the Complete Collection. That included a copy of Final Fantasy IV with updated graphics, as well as Final Fantasy Interlude and Final Fantasy IV the After Years. So that's a lot of fun. I have that copy too. I'm not sure if I'm ever actually going to do a playthrough of the After Years. It's something that I've thought about, but it's not on the schedule at the moment. And then, of course, there's this version of the game, the DS version. Out of all of those copies, I would have to say that I think the DS version is my favorite. Obviously, being a 3D game has something to do with that, but also just I like the augment system, how you can kind of get augments for your team and you can sort of customize them, because previously in the game there was no way to customize your characters other than, leveling them up and changing their equipment, but otherwise there really wasn't a whole lot you could do with them. So I like that aspect of it. I'll take a bit of time to talk about what I liked about the game here this time and what some of the things I didn't like. First of all, one of the things I really like is the 3D remake of the game and the voice acting. I actually didn't know there was voice acting with the game when I first picked it up. So when I get through that opening sequence and Cecil starts talking and the Red Wings start talking, I was like, whoa, was not expecting that. So that was a nice treat. Yeah, I'm not sure what to say about the combat. I mean, it's fun in its way, but I kind of felt like there really wasn't a lot of variety from when you start the game to when you finish it. I mean, obviously, with the augments, that kind of helps keep battles a little fresh because you can change what abilities you have in combat, and that helps keep it from getting a little too monotonous. But I mean, really, at the same time, once you get to these levels that I'm at, my file here, where you're 99, it's just basically attack, or in Cecil's case, kick, counter kick. So in that case, that was I'm kind of ambivalent about that. I also talk a bit about the plot. For the most part, I like the plot, but as I've pointed out, and there were a few things I've pointed this out before while I was playing through the game, there were some things in the plot that just really didn't make sense. Again, the first one was going to the sealed cave to get the last Dark Crystal. It was kind of like, why are we doing this? It's the Dark Crystal, which the villain is trying to get, is in a cave that's protected by traps and monsters is it not safer to just leave it in there? But no, of course, we have to get it before he does. So we go through the trouble of going through all the traps and that sort of thing. And then what happens? He steals it from us. I mean, anyone could have totally seen that coming. So that's one gripe. The other gripe is that scene near the end of the game where Cecil tells Rydia and Rosa to get off the ship and, you know, you're not allowed to come, it's too dangerous. And they end up coming anyway, and then Cecil's just like, yeah, okay, you can come. I mean, what was the point of that cutscene? It was pointless. There was absolutely no reason to have it. I mean, it's true to the original SNES. That was in the SNES version. So, you know, I understand that aspect of it. But why even put it in there from the start? Because Rydia and Rosa are just going to... They stay in your party, so they're not really removed from your team. And why would you tell them to leave when they are basically the primary magic users of the party? It made no sense to me. Other than that, I don't have any real major complaints about the plot. I mean, it's definitely the deepest plot that Final Fantasy had at the time. The previous Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasies 1 and 3, going by the Japanese numbers, they were pretty much drones. Like, they had no personality. We would never learn their names. They were just, you know, fighter, monk, red mage, black mage, white mage. In Final Fantasy 2, they had personalities and there was a plot to speak of, but we never really got much into character development. There wasn't really much about the background of the characters. It was just like, here are your characters, here are their names, here's their situation, now go and save the world. I really like the story here of Cecil, you know, kind of redeeming himself, starting out as a Dark Knight and then turning into a Paladin. I love that cutscene on Mount Ordeals where he actually gets transformed into a Paladin. I think it's one of the best scenes in the entire game, so I really love that. Other things that I really like, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I love the fact that we travel to the moon. Part of the reason I've just been flying around here on the Lunar Whale is because I love the theme of the Lunar Whale, and I love, you know, the massive airship that you get. You get a lot of airships in this game, I will say that. There's the Enterprise there. No, sorry, that's the Falcon. The Enterprise is there by the Castle of Ebon. Then you get the hovercraft, and then you get this. So you actually get a lot of airships in this game, which I also kind of like. It's kind of neat to see the different versions of the airships that you get. And I'm going to go to Mysidia because I love the music theme in Mysidia. I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't wrap this up without listening to this awesome theme. Alright, so I think it's time to wrap up the session and kind of talk about what is going to be happening next. I started doing this commentary playthrough right at the start of the year, back on January 1st, New Year's Day, was actually the first day I actually sat down and recorded the first episode. So right from the very start of 2022 is when I've been working on this, and now it is the middle of November while I'm recording this, but it's actually going to be probably past the new year, I think, by the time this gets uploaded to the channel. So it's basically been about a year in the making. Let's put it that way. I'm going to stick to even though this is the last episode, I'm going to stick to my once a week upload. I just feel like doing any more than that would put too much on the strain for me. Again, this isn't my job. This is a hobby, and, you know, I still have to work. I still have to put money on the table. So, you know, I feel like once a week is a good pace. I can keep up with that, and I feel like doing any more would just be a bit too aggressive and I would burn out. So I'm going to stick with my once a week upload. I'm going to be taking a bit of time from recording after I upload these episodes, and I'm going to be focusing a bit more on promoting the channel, Retro Cactuar channel. So if you guys are watching this, you enjoy it, you enjoy the channel, let your friends know, word of mouth, spread it around. I'm going to be putting up snippets of the playthrough on some other social media channels to kind of drive more traffic to my YouTube channel. So I'm going to be focusing a bit on promotion now that I'm done the actual recording and once I'm done the editing of these episodes. And that's going to be kind of what I'm going to focus on for a little while, try to get a bit more attention. I understand it's kind of hard because it is an older game, and a lot of people, they go on YouTube to watch the newer stuff and not the older stuff, but I'm a retro gamer. I picked the name Retro Cactuar for a reason, because I wanted to start with some of the older Final Fantasy games, and that's what I'm sticking with. And I think that there is still a lot of interest. Like there's a lot of people who still regard Final Fantasy IV as their favorite Final Fantasy of all time. I'm not one of them, but at the same time, I don't hate the game. I think it's a really good game overall. Like I said, it was the first RPG that really introduced me to RPGs as a whole, so I've always appreciated it for that. Alright, and finally, talk about what is coming up next. Well, I haven't made any decisions. Like I said, I'm going to see a bit about promoting the channel first, but I'm thinking my next project is probably going to be a commentary playthrough of Final Fantasy V. I'm planning to go through some of the Final Fantasies. I'll do Final Fantasy V, and 6 is kind of what I'm thinking of. If I get a lot of response and I start to get a lot of comments from people saying, hey, why don't you do this game instead, I'll certainly take that into consideration. But for now, that's kind of where I'm going. I want to focus on some older games that maybe people have not played, or people have played but they just abandoned or given up. I really like some of these older Final Fantasies. I want to be careful what I say here. I found that some of the newer Final Fantasies are kind of lackluster. I was very underwhelmed by Final Fantasy 13. Final Fantasy 15 is okay. I wouldn't say I love it. I don't hate it either. Final Fantasy 13 I found was very weak. The last Final Fantasy that I really enjoyed playing through was Final Fantasy 12. And I don't want to get too much into talking about some of the other ones here, but I kind of feel like some of the more recent efforts by Square Enix have been kind of lackluster, kind of fallen short. I don't think I'm alone in that feeling, so I kind of felt like this is a good time to go back and visit some of those older games that we know and love. So that's pretty much it, guys. I've really enjoyed working on this game, recording the episodes, being able to share my experiences with you guys, being able to walk through the game and talk about my experience with it, what I've loved about it. So I'm going to wrap up here, and for those of you watching, I really appreciate your support. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me to the end, watching this playthrough. Do keep an eye out, because I am going to continue with the channel, and I am going to put up some other content, so keep an eye out for that. And again, thanks guys, you guys are great, and I hope to see you again soon with a new commentary playthrough. Until then, take care.